among prisoners and prison breaks in multiple countries around the world in response to prisoner anger over their risk of contracting illness in the prison conditions. On March last month, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. The most egregious cause of COVID-19 will be borne by those who are most vulnerable. Prisoners across the world are an exceptionally vulnerable class who risk being infected due to living in grossly overcrowded prisons in unsanitary and unhygienic conditions. Coronavirus sweeping through massive U.S. prison population. A massive wave of coronavirus infections is blasting through the world's largest prison population in the United States, even as officials begin opening up their economy, saying the disease has plateaued. One prison in Marion, Ohio, has become the most intensely infected institution across the country, with more than 80 of its nearly 2,500 inmates and 100 staff on top of that testing positive for COVID-19. The pandemic has ushered in a historic emptying of California's overcrowded prisons and jails, as officials have dramatically lowered the numbers held in custody to avert deadly outbreaks, according to the Los Angeles Times. 73% of inmates at an Ohio prison test positive for coronavirus. 70% of inmates test positive for coronavirus at Lompoc federal prisons. And here's what some of you have been waiting for. Paul Manafort, disgraced Trump campaign chief, freed from federal prison over the coronavirus fear. The disgraced ex-Trump campaign boss was released from a federal prison in Pennsylvania on Wednesday over coronavirus fears and will serve the rest of his sentence at home in home confinement. Manafort, who's serving a 7.5-year stint for a laundry list of crimes relating to his shady consulting work for pro-Russian politicians in the Ukraine, sprung from federal lockup in Loretto before dawn. Also,
what a shame.
He will spend the next 4 years at home on home confinement. They released Manafort from Loretto Federal Prison up in Pennsylvania. And we have a lot of D.C. guys incarcerated at Loretto, minimum at all 3 facilities at Loretto. And they released only one person, Paul Manafort, for the possibility or the fear of he might contact the coronavirus. What about all our D.C. code prisons up there in Loretto? They are facing the same thing. Why they release one man and you got hundreds of men facing the same virus? Also, nobody in that institution has been reported having the coronavirus, but yet they're denying men and women who got all kinds of illnesses, ailments, handicaps, disabilities. They're not being released. How come Paul Manafort, a friend of President Trump, get released? And lastly, Bill Cosby fails to win release from prison during the coronavirus. Bill Cosby would not be released from prison during the coronavirus pandemic due to his conviction on sex crime, the Pennsylvania Department of Correction told the USA Today. Inmate Cosby is not eligible for a reprieve by the governor. If a man's life is not important, he's 83 years old and blind, and they won't release him. He's serving time, not a death sentence. You're killing this man. I know he broke the law and committed some crimes, but your house is on fire, and we're talking about people's lives, and this is a human rights issue. Should an 83-year-old man be released who's blind and not a threat, be released to home confinement to save his life? Manafort has been released to home confinement for the next 4 years. What about our people? We got folks up in the federal system all over the country, and I got a bunch of them this morning I want to talk about. Coleman Bay, Mama Glow, Linwood Gray, Anthony Rice, Ingram Bay. There's a lot of folks that need to be come out, and I can't call everybody's name this morning, but from time to time I'll be dropping some names. And the twin, who's a good friend of mine, I've been in touch with his brother, and hey, he been in 17 years. Mama Glow been in 50. Governor Edwards in Louisiana, they had a hearing, a clemency hearing on Mama Glow. She's the longest serving female black prisoner locked up in the USA prison. She's been in 50 years. Let Mama Glow go. Let our folks go. We got big Linwood Gray, guys we ain't seen in 15, 20, 30 years. Let our people out of there, man. Enough is enough. People are dying. On April the 3rd, Attorney General Barr wrote a letter and asked the Federal Bureau of Prisons officials to start releasing people. And since that April 3rd letter, less than 2,500 people has been released, and the total population is over 170,000. What's going on, man? The house is on fire and people are dying all over the world, and you're still not letting our folks out. And if you're white, you got resources and contacts, you get out. They released Michael Cohen a week or so ago. He was Trump's first lawyer. How did they get out? They don't have the virus.
Right.
Because they're connected, they get a chance to live their life a little longer at home or in home confinement. This is not right, folks. Let our people go. And that's been the grapevine for this morning. Now we get to our show. Does an arrest record disqualify business owners from COVID-19 disaster relief? And on the phone is Stephen Handelman, editor of the Crime Report, director of the Center on Media, Crime and Justice, and the John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Are you there, Steve Handelman? And thank you for being here. Are you there, Nikichi Taifa? Yeah, I'm calling my. Oh, yes, I can hear you. This is my co-host is Nikichi. Good morning, Nikichi, and good morning, Stephen. And thank you both for joining us. Steve, we're glad that you have taken the time to address our audience on this issue because of the stimulus money has been released. There's been a lot of confusion. A lot of folks have been told or on the impression that if you have a criminal record, you cannot receive none of the business loans for small business loans. You cannot get payroll protection money because of a criminal conviction. Can you clarify this issue for us, please, Steve? Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Uh-huh.
Take that mic and put it over on the phone, please. That mic. Put it over by the phone. Yeah, put it by the phone. Put the phone by the.
Huh? Go ahead. Yes. Congressman Eleanor Holmes Norton was on that Is that irregardless of whether or not the crime or the offense happened 5 years previously? Isn't that something? Is this the law, or these rules regularly mandated by the SBA or Congress or both?
You gotta put the microphone, the phone on the thing. Gotta put the phone by the microphone. Hey,
Okay.
we're gonna turn it off.
Okay. All right, because it seems that you need to have a relationship with a bank. I've been reading the stats. There's over 100 million people with criminal records who got businesses. It's an estimate, and over 100 million. So we're talking about another 100 million people being denied access to the stimulus money because of, again, these collateral consequences of being convicted or having a felony. And they found other ways to penalize you, even though you served your time and paid your debt. You came out, and we know that a lot of small business owners have criminal records because they can't get a job, so they go back and create their own jobs and create employment for other folk. So now they're being left out of this. They're being left out of the soup. They can't get money. Or you're talking about in excess of 100 million people who might be denied this stimulus money, and these people keep the economy running, and they hire folk. So where do we go with this? I mean, how does this impact the thing? Yeah. You're in trouble. How's that? How can he make it tough? How can he make it tough for you? How can he make it tougher for you? With more regulation, because the regulation that you mentioned before, if you on probation or parole, or you're on home confinement, electronic monitoring, these questions are like a trap. If you answer them, that means you have to been in contact with the criminal justice system in order to be on home confinement and house arrest and this kind of stuff, from parole or probation. So it's a catch-all. If you answer yes to that, you're in trouble. If you don't answer it and they find out that you are, you can't get the loan and you're stuck. What's the person's what's the person's option? What option do they have? Of color. It's just punitive. Yeah. Hmm. You know, this is a continuation of this punitive mentality in terms of you got a criminal record. You already served your time. You're out. You came out on probation, parole, or house arrest. You finished, and now you're being punished again. You got a business. You've been contributing to the economy. You're paying taxes. Got employees working. I know people with criminal records who've been running business in D.C., Maryland, Virginia, small business owners who employ hundreds of people, man, collectively, all of them. And now these folks are being thrown to the wayside again. Because of what they did 15, 20, 30 years ago. Man, this is not, this is a continuation of this discrimination. And why, and folks with criminal records are the last hired, the first fired. Now we're the last considered and don't come in. If you think you're eligible, don't even come through the door. You know. Yes. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. Can you hold on a minute? We're gonna bring Jerry Parrish in. Come on, Jerry. Jerry got something he wanted to share with you. This is our fund drive, and he always pitches with Mertine and I. Jerry, are you there? Okay, thanks a lot, Jerry. We're bringing back in 40 of them. Folk, this is, like as he said, this is a crisis. There are hunger strikes, uprisings, and riots all over the world of inmates, men and women, who are in prison asking to get out because of the fear of the coronavirus. And if President Trump decide to to release Paul Manafort because of the fear or the threat of the coronavirus inside that institution, and there's hundreds of men in that institution. Why was he the only one let out? Didn't everybody in that same institution face the fear or the threat of coronavirus? And I got personal friends up there in Loretta, in prisons all across America and around the world. Our folks need to be released. And this thing about you not getting eligible for disaster relief or payroll protection due to the CARES Act and the Second Chance Act, and then they did something with the HEROES Act. Why is it that inmates or returning citizens or people incarcerated are constantly being discriminated against, even in the midst of an emergency, a pandemic? And we're being told that over 100 million people with criminal records have businesses and are business owners. And we got quite a few here in Washington, D.C. And these business owners are struggling and fighting, and they're being told they cannot get no relief. What the hell do we do? There's an old saying that this famous black lady used to say, Nikichi. What us gonna do, y'all? What us gonna do?
Lord.
What us gonna do?
Lord.
Everywhere we turn, the door is shut. There's a hole in the floor. There's a hole in the ceiling, and we being punished, penalized, locked up, getting excessive sentence to stay locked up alone. Anybody else? Now, when you try to do the right thing, got a business and hiring folk, and you can't get the financial assistance to keep your doors open, help your employees take care of their families. Man, this is off the chain. The chain ain't even on the table no more. This is off everything. This is not fair. Yeah. Yes, and a lot of our stories that we cite on Grapevine, we get, Steve, from the crime report. We use you as a source of a lot of our stories about criminal justice. Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Uh-huh. Cut and paste. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. I want to throw this in the mix that we're talking about. Since we're talking about the stimulus package and everybody in the world in America is supposed to get some funds, there was nothing in the stimulus package or the CARES Act or the HEROES Act about giving stimulus to those people who are incarcerated and those people who came out of prison. They're American citizens. They paid their debt to society, or they're paying it. But there's no funds available. There was no mention in the Stimulus Act other than saying we're not eligible to receive this kind of money, the PPEs and the payroll protection loans, etc. What about? There was nothing nothing in the bill. Go ahead. There you go. There you go. There you go. Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. Yes. Okay. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay. Can you hold it right there? We're gonna take a break. Can you hold it right there, Steve? We'll take a break and come back with you and Nikichi. If folk wanted to, if anybody want to join in this discussion, the phone number is 202-588-0893. That's 202-588-0893. We'll take a break and be right back. We'll be playing a song called Bring the Boys Home, and we're talking about the boys, girls, and the kids. Let's go. We have a break. We'll be right back.
All right, so let's do this.
Hey, Jonathan.
Listen to it. You see? Check out that.
That's good.
Okay, Mike. Tell Mike cut it. Okay, Mike. Bring them back alive. We're talking about the girls, the women, as well as the kids. Bring our folks home, people. The house is on fire. And this is, it's like being in one of them brush fires over in Australia when half of the country was on fire. And they burned everything. When somebody's burning and you're saying because of their criminal record or crime of violence, let me clarify something. I went to prison 56 years ago on a first-degree murder, armed robbery. 56 years ago, I had a crime of violence. And in 56 years later, I haven't participated in another violent act. So because of what I did at 20 doesn't mean you do the same thing at 60 or 70. It doesn't mean that. Folks, we're talking about a human rights issue. Due time, not to die inside of an institution, and because of what's going on with the virus, it's really destroying family relationships. You can't see your loved ones. You can't see your loved ones. You can't talk to them, and you have very limited time. This is unbelievable. So we have to make sure that we, the folks out here, stand up and speak up. That they let Paul Manafort out and Michael Cohen, who was Trump's lawyer when he first went in.
Ooh,
These
Lord.
gentlemen are out. This is not fair. Other men and women who are dying. There's the young lady in Baltimore, Uriah Pretty. She's been in 42 years. She just contacted coronavirus. She's in a wheelchair. She's been in 42 years and in the late 60s, and they haven't released her and won't release her. There's Mama Glow down in Louisiana, the longest serving female black prisoner. She's been in 50 years. But yet, Paul Manafort can get released because of the threat of the virus, and these people have got illnesses. They're in their 70s. They're disabled, they're handicapped, or they're suffering all kinds of medical complications, and they're not released. Folk, this ain't right. So people, that song again, bring them back alive. We want our people out. We got a lot of people from Washington, D.C. and all over the country, been in decades, 2, 3, 4, 5 decades. We want our people out. And this